who. There you
Awesome.
go.
Thank you, Karish.
So I'm going to pass it on to Joe to just go through the PowerPoint explaining what's happening and how this stage 2 is rolling out.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for joining us this evening. I know, as Karish said, it's a hot evening tonight, so we might as well stay in the cool, but also we won't take long. We won't take much of your time. We just wanted to go through step 2 as it's very timely right now to get through this information. And then we have another town hall next week, so you can always join us again next week on our indoor volleyball topics. So we'll get into it. And I hope you joined us for our step 1. So we'll continue on and we'll continue talking about our step 2 tonight. So we're going to talk a little bit about Ontario's roadmap and what we're kind of put up against for volleyball and following the province's roadmap, what that means for volleyball in step 2. And as Karish said, he'll monitor our questions and answer period, and we have some more town halls coming up. So as all of you know, we have 3 steps in our province. Currently, we are in step 2, which is nice to be in that phase, and we're hoping we can really quickly get to step 3. We did look at the target of step 3 still being the 3 weeks away from when after step 2 started. Step 1 and step 2 are only outdoor activity, and it's not until step 3 until we'll get into some indoor activity. So just to continue with the province, we are at the mercy too of also of the vaccination levels. Those are triggers, along with some other health factors that the province is monitoring, along with obviously cases and hospitals. And as we all know, as we all been used to looking at that over the last year, all those numbers, the numbers are going very well. We are still a little behind actually in the first vaccinations. So this is my plug. If you have know anyone that hasn't got their vaccines, please, not only just to keep everyone safe, but we want to get into step 3 and get some indoor volleyball happening. We are doing, obviously the province has done, beat the 25% fully vaccinated with people getting their second dose, as we're up around 40%. But the first dose is still wavering close to that 80 or maybe just a bit below. I'm not totally up on it. So please, our recommendation is to get volleyball going, is for the vaccines to happen. So everyone obviously wants to get back to play. What happens with the return to play, getting it together and being able to put this document together and all these procedures, there is a lot of factors that come into it. The government regulations are pretty tricky to maneuver sometimes and to translate, but we do use the help of legal. We do send our return to play also to insurance, and public health authorities are also involved in making sure that it's safe, but you always still need to look to your local public health. And this is where if your local public health has any questions with our return to play and whether or not volleyball can happen, the return to play is a tool to share with them about that, along with, as you'll find out, there's a safety plan that's required. And don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're happy to help communicate with your local public health, your municipalities, anyone that has questions on our return to play. Just give us a contact, send us the questions, and we can help you with that. The return to play is needed for to get your facilities for volleyball to be allowed to happen at that facility, for permits to be issued, and our return to play is in line with Volleyball Canada. This is a great big long list. So how to comply. This has been the ongoing return to play. If you have operated previously in any of the other stages or the colors or any other way our province had put it out, this is the same list. But there are some things that are a little more just stressed now, and that would be the safety plan. So we'll get into that in a little more detail. So in order to operate past the gathering size of 25 in our province, you do have to have a safety plan. So we'll talk a little more about that part. But the main piece with this is that we understand there's a lot of work that goes into being able to get back to return to play. So please don't hesitate to ask us any questions if you have. If you're wondering how to operate at this time, if you haven't yet, what are all the things you need to do? There is a lot. There's daily health screening, doing the contact tracing, making sure you're delivering the program with the appropriate modifications so you are in line with the government regulations, because if you're not, that's just like operating illegal, so insurance won't apply. So we don't want that to happen. In order to get your facilities and your permits, they need to see that you have your return to play, that you have a safety plan. And for the OVA, we need your acknowledgement that you understand our return to play protocols, and the waivers that now are in MRS, anyone that registered this year, it does also have a COVID piece. So also you want to make sure that waivers are completed that have the COVID part as well. So step 2, what is that? Obviously, as I said, indoor is still not happening. So indoor team sports are not permitted, indoor recreational facilities aren't open. The facilities on the indoor side, if there's a washroom or first aid, they can be utilized, but not for the actual activity. So outdoor recreational facilities can be open, and outdoor team sports, training, competition, and league play are permitted with the modifications that we'll go through. So one of the constants with everything is still maintain physical distancing. And then there's only an exception of the physical distancing when the team sport is in action, when the athletes are on the court. But besides that, keep that in mind for all your planning, for your coaches, for check-ins, for basically anything. 2 meters physical distancing is still always required. That's still obviously the safest way to operate. So training, competitions, and league play are permitted, but as I said, maintain physical distancing during action while there's play happening. Physical distancing can be breached, but you must avoid physical contact. So, and they now term physical contact personal contact. So no high fives, no back slaps, no handshakes. Just don't let them touch each other. It's pretty simple, but I know it's difficult in volleyball. But that's the thing where an incidental is okay, but you have to eliminate all deliberate personal contact in order to be able to play. So it's great because obviously we have the net in between the teams, so the government quite likes our sport being able to play. So let's just keep it rolling and make sure that we eliminate any other personal contact between the players. So as that statement says at the end, please remember this is only during their play. So if the athlete has a timeout and they're with the coach, they have to go back to maintaining physical distancing. So just because they're playing team sport doesn't mean that during a static part of the like a timeout, you still have to go back to 2 meters physical distance. It doesn't mean they can breach that. So just keep that in mind, and only breach physical distance, as necessary during play. So gathering size, as I'm sure you've seen on all the documents, gathering size is 25, and that's what's allowed for outdoors. During the team sport play, and the facilities that are operating, they are allowed to admit the total number of members of public. We have the statement exactly from the regulations, and it was very confusing at first. We were like, oh my goodness, this means we can go higher than 25. So the facility can permit the total number of people that can maintain physical distance. So obviously that's fantastic news. If you have even 6 courts or 10 courts at your facility, you have enough space to be able to allow that play to happen and have more than 25 people there. So really it comes down to your facility has to confirm the number of participants with you, what they will allow you to have the permit. But that's the regulation, is that as long as 2 meters physical distance can be maintained by the number of people that are admitted into that facility, that venue, they can go there. Now, that gathering size, being able to exceed 25, is only allowed if a safety plan is provided. So the safety plan is mandatory in order to go past that gathering size, because you really have to be able to demonstrate that you can keep all the participants safe, and you have your screening measures. You're able to still maintain physical distancing protocols, obviously, and the mask wearing, that all of the equipment is cleaned and disinfected, and that you can prevent and control the crowd. So even though you're bringing more than 25 to that venue, you have to know your venue and be able to show that you have the traffic flow, that you have check-ins at different times, that you're really able to maintain that. It really comes back to the physical distance. So this is something that it is specific to each venue, to each event. So if you're having a league night, and you do have 6 courts, but if you bring in, enough athletes for 3 courts at 7 o'clock and the other 3 courts at 7:15 or 7:30, or in another space, you want to be able to show that that's all in your safety plan. So it really is, I can't stress it enough, it's really about it being able to show that you understand that physical distancing is still required, that you must screen and contact trace and all those fun things, but that you're able to keep your participants safe. This safety plan, it must be in writing. It has to be provided to the venue. So this is the difference, where before the facility was required to have these safety plans. Now it's on the event organizers, whoever's getting the permit. You have to have that safety plan, and you have to provide it to the facility. So the facility can rent you the courts, but you have to show that you're being able to keep all the participants safe. Post your safety plan, put it on your website, share with your club. They do actually want it posted on site. I mean, obviously really important to provide it to all your participants. It is part of our return to play protocol. There's a template. It shows all the pieces that you need, all the components, and a sample of filling that out. So I just want to stress that safety plan is very important to be able to operate. Some other little tidbits that we have. Some local public health have further regulations, so always check in with them to see if there's anything further. There isn't a travel limitation within Ontario, so that's another thing that's always been difficult, whether you can leave a region or not. There is nothing in the regulations, but it doesn't mean that some venues or other local public health, they may have that. In the regulations, there's also no time limit, but we still stress when you go back to your safety plan, you do want to be able to show how you're mitigating risks, how you're keeping numbers reasonable. You don't want to have extra people in the venue standing around. So keep your schedule very compact and keep it efficient with the number of people that come to the venue, play, and then leave the venue. Spectators are allowed. Again, you are going to have to confirm with your facility or venue. Per the regulations, it's 25% capacity for a space that has spectator seating. If there isn't a designated seating at the venue, then the calculation is based on a 25% capacity just out of the total area at the venue. Some other things, masks are required. They are required to be worn at all times by all individuals participants, except for the athletes while they're on the court actively playing. We have to keep saying it, sorry, but we do have to remember that the physical distancing is required at all times, except for when they're playing is when they're allowed to breach that physical distance. Up to 4 active participants per side when it's a 16 by 8 or an 8 by 8 court And if you are going to play 6-on-6, make sure it's a 9x9 court, just so there's that extra space. There is no mandatory vaccination for members to participate in OVA events, but obviously we highly recommend it to keep everyone safe. Day camps. So we have checked in with our insurance. We are not a day camp operator. We have sports competitions and trainings, so our insurance does not cover day camps. If you are going to run day camps, there is a whole booklet of regulations. The link is here in the presentation. But day camps, you have to run for the week, consecutive days. The same kids are in that group, and you still have to follow return to play protocol for whichever sport you are running at that day camp. So, for example, because indoor team sports aren't allowed, indoor volleyball isn't allowed at day camp. So that's just something to keep in mind, to check with your insurance, your facility, and make sure you have the appropriate insurance for the activity that you are running. Okay, looking forward to Ontario, the step 3. We are really hoping that we will get the next regulations. Our understanding is that they are quite different. So step 2 is hopefully just a short couple weeks of running with these regulations, and then we'll expand further in step 3. Step 3 will include some indoor, but as I said, we won't know any of the details until they release the regulations. We do not have them yet. We are hoping to get them obviously in the next couple weeks, hopefully before it happens from there. And this is where I'll say, is there any questions you want to run through, Karish? Or that was kind of the information that I wanted to get to, and if you have any information that you had questions prior to from people.
Yeah, we have a question here from Rick asking if his parents are asking his club, while spectating, do they still need to wear a mask, even if the parents and athletes are double vaccinated?
Right now, we don't have any of the different rules with being vaccinated or not, because that's very sensitive as far as asking for medical information. It is a topic I'm bringing up with the board when we get into step 3, is there going to be anything different with vaccination or not? At this time, there is not. So as a spectator, if they're at the venue near the court, they do need to be wearing a mask. If I recognize that if we're outside and if they're outside of the venue, they don't need to be wearing a mask, which is very, like, a lot of times the courts are, there's area around outside the courts that aren't right at the venue. And then I wouldn't worry.
Okay, and the next one from Brenda is, as a club, can they require mask even during activity? So as a club, can they mandate the mask whether the athlete is fully vaccinated or not?
Yes. Yes, this is the return to play protocol that the OVA has put out, but clubs and local health regions, you can add further requirements. Absolutely.
Other than that, I think we have most of the questions answered. Please go into the chat for those of you that joined late. There are a couple documents in there that you can download, the updated step 2 protocols from the OVA that we've just discussed, the actual document itself, as well as that safety protocol appendix that Joe referenced, quite heavily referenced. I know that most of the emails I've got were around that, like, we need to provide a safety plan. Where is that? It's in there, but you can also find it on our return to play page. If you just go down the page to step 2, it's right under appendices, protocol appendices. It's the last one, Appendix M, and it's been updated as well. That's pretty much, I don't know if anyone else has any questions. Oh, sorry, there's one there, my bad. If a family's away from the court in their own tent, do they have to have masks on?
So that was back to the piece around the spectator. If it's off of the venue, like if it's far enough away, then that will be okay. But yeah, if you are on a venue, like you will be required to keep your mask on. But if you're, it really is a matter of how the venue is situated. So we just ask you to respect the staff, like if especially like an OVA event, respect what the staff, the event staff, what rules they provide for that venue. And that's the best way to answer it, because obviously every single venue outside is different, and some of the spectating in the tents are set up far enough away. That's kind of the best. I know it's not a clear-cut answer, but what in COVID has been clear-cut? Not much. So that's kind of where we're at. I did want to say one other thing, Karish, I think we said it, but I did want to stress the reference guide that summarizes the steps. So I keep looking at my other screen to see if I have it. Yeah, let me share. Just to quickly, we can run through that. This is a document that is posted on our website. I'm going to jump to this. So I'm sharing a reference guide now.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Sorry, I'm working with two screens and I'm not used to these ones and I'm not doing the best. So you'll find this reference guide on the website, on the OVA website. It's also in the article with the full document. So it's a great little piece of just, okay, yeah, what is that, the snapshot of the steps. And then once we have step 3, obviously we'll fill in step 3, but it just takes you through the quick guidelines of what's allowed for physical distancing, the personal contact, the play, the gathering sizes, mask usage, and it's all there in one sheet. And I think it's really helpful too to share with your club members and your parents and how the volleyball is operating at this time. And obviously, and again, this is just for outdoor because indoor is not allowed.
Awesome. We have 2 really good questions here as well. Can a club refuse an athlete who has not been vaccinated from attending their events and tryouts?
Wow. So there's a couple things that ends up happening with that. So for health information is confidential, and there can be exemptions for individuals and their human rights piece that comes into that. So that would be like, my answer would be, for what reason? As in no.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, that's a tough one. That's one we discuss pretty often, and it comes up all the time. It's really tough to figure out. Sort of building on that, another question we have is, what is the procedure to follow if someone is not wearing a mask at an event and have been asked to do so and they still refuse?
Then they're asked to leave. So again, that's in our protocol, that's in our, within the rules, and especially the events and competitions. And if that's a member safety and another safety. So that is where they will be asked to leave and they won't be able to participate.
Yeah. Latest question here. Karen is asking, saying that, suggesting, so athletes can wear a mask on court to protect themselves at all times. I'm guessing that's the athlete and their parents' choice.
Yes. Yeah, at any point, you can keep your mask on. We just make sure, like, if it gets wet, it gets soiled, change it. And that's where having your own hand sanitizer, clean your hands before you apply that other mask. All those things, do what's comfortable for you, do what keeps you and your family safe. Everyone has a different situation, different, just what they're dealing with at home, right? They need to keep their family members safe and the rest of the public safe. So yeah, absolutely. You can keep a mask on all the time.
I think that's it for questions. So Any more questions? Going one time, two times, four times. Short and sweet. To me
Yeah.
personally, thank you. I've not been called out in some time, so that's great. But in terms of the actual presentation, great. I'm glad everyone is happy and that we've been able to answer your questions. Again, this recording will be posted tomorrow, made public via our YouTube, but we'll always pump it out through our social media channels. And we'll send out that PowerPoint as requested by a couple of you.
Yes.
For those of you sending me private messages, thank you. It's nice to chat with everyone again. And please, as much as possible, enjoy the sunshine safely.
Okay.
Oh,
I did forget to share the last screen with the town halls.
oh,
So there's
great.
another town hall next week. Jump in, join us. It's about, the new year. I will try to get to this screen share. Bear with me, unless you want to share it. I don't know why I'm struggling with this. Oh, here we go. This will bring up something. Okay, so yes, we have another town hall next week that'll cover off, and I'm showing that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Indoor What's New, further to be scheduled. Hopefully we'll have step 3 for July 26th. And then in August, we'll be looking at some club prep for indoor season and navigating the pandemic. Alicia Liddoms is saying, please send me your request for content for town halls. We're happy to cover off the information that you're interested in hearing. And that takes us to how quickly the summer will end. So that is something where we're looking forward to sharing next week too, as far as really talking about indoor, what we can do there.
Awesome. Okay, everyone, you guys go ahead and have a wonderful evening. Enjoy with your families, or whatever beverage is your preference. Have a good night, and I'm going to end this recording. See you guys later on or next week. Bye.